I never did tell this to anyone, not even my wife. Whenever I attempt to, my throat constricts like a garrote and my hands tremble. But I'm telling it now because I couldn't sleep. I haven't slept well for years, not since that evening. It occurred in October 2014. I was alone in a small apartment outside of Pittsburgh. I had just celebrated my 27th birthday, working a mundane IT job paycheck to paycheck. Nights were quiet, uneventful, until that one night. It was precisely 12:17 a.m. when my phone rang. At first I thought it was a wrong number. I mean, who calls that late? I was half asleep, grumpy, annoyed. I reached over hoping to see a name I knew, but the screen just said, unknown caller. I let it ring through. A minute later it rang again. Same thing. Unknown caller. This time I picked up. Hello. I slurred, my voice heavy with sleep. There was nothing but gentle static for a couple of seconds. Then a low, hushed voice said, "Why didn't you pick up the first time, Michael?" My back stiffened. "Who are you?" I asked, all of a sudden wide awake. No response. Only deep, slow breathing. And then the call dropped. I sat up, my heart racing. It was a prank, but something in the voice made me nervous. It wasn't robotic or warped, it was just off. Like the tone was too even, too conscious. I tried to brush it off and return to bed. At 12:44 a.m. on the dot, the phone rang again. I paused, then answered. If this is some sort of joke. The voice interrupted me. "Don't hang up this time." I froze. There was a long pause. Then it said, "There's someone in your kitchen." My blood turned to ice. I lived alone. No one else had keys. My bedroom door was closed, but I could see the faint glow of the hallway light under it. I hadn't left that on. I reached for the small baseball bat I kept by the bed and whispered into the phone, "Who the hell are you?" No answer. I hung up and sat there in silence, leaning my ears in. Then, I heard it. A soft creak, like someone tiptoeing slowly on the hardwood floor just beyond the door. I stopped breathing. Another step. Then, the creak of a drawer opening in the kitchen. That's when the phone rang again. I didn't even want to look at the screen, but I did. Still unknown caller. I answered. "You're too slow," the voice said. "He's already inside." My hand was shaking now. I gripped the bat and crept to the door, slowly turning the knob. I eased it open slowly. The hallway was black now. No kitchen light. No hallway light. Just darkness. That's when it clicked. I hadn't turned off the lights. Someone had. I wanted to scream, run, call the cops. But fear froze me. I stepped slowly down the hallway. The cold floor beneath my bare feet. I sensed a draft from the kitchen. I whispered, "Who's there?" Nothing. Another step. Then just as I reached out to step into the kitchen, the phone beeped again. Text message this time. "Don't look behind you." I turned around. Nobody. But the hallway light flashed on by itself. I was finished. I raced back into the bedroom, shut the door, jammed my dresser against it, and dialed 911. As the dispatcher was on the phone, I told her everything, frantically sweating and talking. She kept saying, "Stay calm, help is coming." Then she said, "Are you alone at the moment?" "I think someone broke," and I whispered. "I heard them." I wait. I glanced down at my phone. The call wasn't with 911. It remained unknown caller. There was no call record indicating 911 had ever been called. My head began to spin. My breathing became shallow. Then a light tap on the bedroom door. 3 slow knocks, followed by silence. Then, the voice from the phone whispered from within the room. "You took too long, Michael." I don't recall much after that. I must have blacked out. When I woke, it was morning. My bedroom door was fully open. The dresser hadn't been touched. It seemed like it wasn't ever pushed in front of the door to start with. Everything in the apartment was left alone. All doors locked. All windows closed. But my phone had no indicator of any calls, or messages that night. Nothing from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. at all. I attempted to tell others about it, some friend, a co-worker. They mocked me, told me it was a dream, perhaps a case of sleep paralysis. It wasn't, because 2 days later I received another call. Same number, same time, 12:17 a.m. This time I didn't pick up. Instead, I blocked the number, changed phones, changed carriers, moved apartments to the other side of town. For some time, things were silent. Until last week. I was taking my dog for a midnight walk. Yes, I still get him out late. Old habits. My phone rang. No caller ID. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text. Nice dog. What's his name again? I braced myself on the sidewalk. Looked around. Nothing but deserted streets. Another message. It's okay. You're safe. For now. And then one more. Don't worry. I remember where you live. I have no idea who or what it is. I have no idea what it wants. But I've stopped sleeping altogether. And tonight it's precisely 12:16 a.m. My phone is ringing again. This time, I think I'm going to pick up. It was 2 years ago, but I still shiver just thinking about it. My name is Brian Matthews, and I was alone in this little apartment on the outskirts of town at the time. I had just broken up and had to get out. It was a quiet building, 3 stories, creaky old wooden floors and walls so thin you could hear the person next door snore, but quiet enough to be a decent place to hole up. Or so I thought. The strange phone call happened at exactly 12:17 a.m. on a Wednesday evening. I was asleep, having slipped into that dreamy state in which reality and fantasy melt together. My phone buzzed on the bedside table, waking me. I lifted one eye to look. Unknown number. Under any other circumstances, I wouldn't answer, but some fear, I guess, or some curiosity maybe made me swipe my thumb across the screen. Hello. Static. And this soft noise, ragged breathing. And a whisper. Don't let him in. I leaned forward. What? Who's this? Quiet. Then the call cut out. I frowned at the phone. No calls, no message. Nothing. Quiet. I tried to blow it off, prank, wrong number. I was too tired to bother. But as I rolled over and got back into bed, this feeling fell over me, like someone sat there waiting. I instructed myself to sleep, but that voice continued echoing in my head. Don't let him in. The next morning, I freaked myself out. It was some crazy dream or a prank someone was pulling on me. I even joked around with my coworker Lisa about it, but her smile faltered when I told her precisely what the voice had said to her. Who are you talking about not letting in? She asked, raising her eyebrow. I don't know. There was no one outside. I waved it off, but she did not believe me. Later that evening, I stayed up watching Netflix until late, attempting to distract myself. At midnight, I heard a soft knock on the door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I turned off the TV and waited. My apartment has just 1 door and 2 windows, and both of them are looking out over the parking lot. I am on the 2nd floor, so you would have to go out through the stairwell to reach my apartment. I sat waiting, holding my breath. Another knock, a little louder this time. I crept over to the door and looked through the peephole. No one was there. I had opened it and peered out. Nothing. No one coming. No one talking. Only that creepy silence that only late at night can offer. I locked the door deadbolt and chain and double-checked the windows. All closed, all locked. But I slept very little that night. The 3rd night was when all went wrong. It was long after midnight again. I was in bed with the light on, yes, I admit it. I was too afraid to turn it off when my phone rang again. Same number. Anonymous. 12:17 a.m. I let it ring twice before I answered. Who is this? I growled. There was a voice. A deep, cracking male voice, like it came through an old wireless. You opened the door to the light, but you left the door ajar. When the devil do you want? No response. Just a slow, deep inhalation. And then a distant click, as if whoever it was hanging up the phone. But I knew I heard more than that breath, something even deeper than I almost didn't quite catch. But he's already in. I locked to the core. I jumped out of bed, checked the door. Lock still in place. Chain still on. Windows untouched. No sign of anything or anyone. I reminded myself again that it had been an illusion. Maybe Fish my number. Maybe some mentally unstable person with a burner phone. I went around the apartment again. Closet? Empty. Bathroom? Empty. Kitchen? Quiet. Then I noticed that the hall light was on. I never leave that light on. I stood there frozen. It could have been nothing. I may have turned it on accidentally. But then at the edge of my vision, I saw something move. Something big and black just at the far end of the hall. It disappeared into the shadows like smoke. No breathing, no sound. Just disappeared. I did not sleep that night. The next day I called the phone company. They cannot trace it. No call was made on your line at that time, they informed me. I even went down to the police station. They listened to me, but did not believe me. Sounded like a prank, one of them said to me. But Lisa, she believed me. You go somewhere else, she said to me. Just for a few nights. I did. I had packed a duffel bag that night and was leaving when curiosity got the better of me. I reviewed my call log for the third time. No unknown numbers. Just normal calls, Lisa, mom, work. Nothing from 12:17 a.m. But then, a new name on my phone. No number. Just a title. In the walls. I swear I did not dial that. Shaking hands, I touched it. No history message, no digit. Just one lone voicemail. I listened to it. Same breath. Then a voice closer, clearer, no longer distorted. Brian, he's reading this to you. The voicemail distorted in a scream. Not mine. Not anybody I know. It was not human sounding. Guttural. Like metal against metal, sounding with human voice underwater. I dropped the phone and fled the apartment. I spent the weekend at Lisa's. She did not bother me, did not question me, just let me sleep on her couch. I felt safer there. I even managed to laugh a little bit, wondering if perhaps it was all tension, a breakdown over the breakdown, or loneliness. But then Sunday evening, sitting in the living room, watching TV on the couch, Lisa asked, "What's that on your neck?" I stroked my fingers against my skin. Raw, tender. I approached the mirror. A mark on my neck. Dark, elongated, a handprint, as if something with thin fingered had pressed against me in sleep. Lisa noticed it too. We both knew that it wasn't something I had done to myself. Her TV turned on by itself last night. Volume all the way up. Nothing but white noise. The screen flickered and went dark. Then the same voice on the TV speaker. "You moved," but he followed. We pulled everything out, but it didn't make any difference. I eventually left that apartment for good. I never went back there, not even to retrieve the rest of my belongings. I had someone pick them up for me. They said the apartment fell off their cold darker than normal, like a blanket had been put over the windows when they hadn't. I changed my number, changed my phone. Everything. And for a while, it stopped. No more middle of the night calls. No more voices. Until last night, 12:17 a.m. My phone vibrated. No number. Just a name. I'm still inside. I didn't pick up. I couldn't. But I could hear the whisper. Without picking up. Right behind me. It was 5 years ago, but I remember it all as if it were last night. I reside in a secluded apartment on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. My surname is Daniel Hayes. I'm 32 today, but at the time I was 27 and worked the graveyard shift for a local printing firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and provided quiet solitude I'd become accustomed to. I worked a very long day and returned home on that evening about 11:30 p.m. I recall feeling the cold of the air the time of the year, it being at the tail end of October Eve of Halloween. I warmed some leftovers, quickly took a shower, and crawled into bed by 12:15 a.m. Closing my eyes as I got to bed, the phone went off. Unrecognizable number. I initially dismissed it. I thought maybe it was a telemarketer or the wrong number. Then though, just as I was falling asleep, it buzzed again. Same cryptic number. Something didn't sit right with me. I'd usually silence it and sleep, but something within me pushed me to answer. "Hello," I growled, waking up. A pause on the other line for a second, perhaps two, and then breathing. Not strained or labored, just a slow, constant inhale, as if someone was simply standing there, frozen, phone to their lips. "Hello," I said again, louder. The breathing ceased. A whisper. "Daniel." I was hit with a twist in my gut. My hand around the phone gripped tighter. "Who are you?" I growled, voice harder now. Silence. I hung up. My heart was pounding harder than it had any right to be over an ordinary phone call. I calmed myself down that it was likely a prank. People get stupid all the time. I plugged in my phone, switched it to Do Not Disturb, and attempted to sleep. It did not take long before things only got worse. The following night, I returned home about the same time. There was the repeat again. At 12:16 a.m. on the dot, my phone rang. Same strange number. This time curiosity prevailed. I picked up without speaking, only listening. "You shouldn't have hung up last night," the voice spoke softly, as if we were longtime friends. My lips went dry. "Who are you?" Breathing again. Then a deep chuckle. "You slept with the window open previously." I had gone to bed in my bedroom. My flat contains only one bedroom window, and of course I slept with it open in summer until about a month or so back when the weather cooled down. "How do you know that?" I reacted sharply, but the phone connection had been severed. This time I couldn't shake it off. I flipped on all the lights in the apartment, checked all the locks twice, even pulled the curtain, something I'd never so much as bothered to do before. I lay awake the entire night through. The following day, I discussed it with some friends. My front office friend Laura said I ought to change to a new number. I had thought about it, but one part of me wanted to know who was calling me and why. That evening later, I prepared myself. Sat in bed, lights off, phone in my hand, pounding hard. 12:16 a.m. Buzz. I picked up fast. "What do you want?" There was a silence, and then the other voice, one that was muffled, unrecognizable, as if they'd passed it through some kind of filter. "You left the door unlocked yesterday." I sat up straight and rushed to the front door. Locked. I went to the back, locked too. But then, had I ever left the back unlocked yesterday? Had anyone been in there? I installed a camera pointed at my front door that evening, just in case. No phone call the following night, or the next. I began to feel foolish, like perhaps someone had pulled a quick prank and moved on with their life. I even teased about it with Laura. Then Friday arrived. I arrived home early that evening at 9 p.m. I replayed the tape from the previous night, half expecting nothing. At 12:17 a.m., to the exact minute, the motion sensor detected. The video was fuzzy in the dark, but there was a person standing near my door. Tall, not moving. The face hidden behind a hoodie. They stood there for 3 minutes. Not moving. Not knocking. Just gazing. Then slowly the figure turned and walked away. There was no call that evening, but I knew now this was no prank caller. Someone had been outside my apartment. I reported it to the police. They took a report, reviewed the tape, and said they'd send someone around the area. But you know how it is, they had more pressing problems than some creepy guy hanging around. Saturday evening came. I invited Laura over. I did not want to be alone. We hung out all night, watching horror movies, maybe not the best idea in retrospect. She went into the bathroom around a minute before midnight. I sat on the couch looking at the clock. 12:16 a.m. Buzz. My blood froze. I picked up. "You shouldn't have had someone over," said the voice. I sprang up, heart racing. "Are you looking at me this instant?" The voice didn't reply, but then the connection didn't cut off either. I caught something odd in the background. Creaking, low moaning like wood shifting. Then a click, then something else. A whimper? "Where are you?" I shouted. Nothing again. I hung up and I sprinted to the front door. Locked. The windows locked too. I rushed to yell to Laura. She was brushing her hair in the hall mirror. "Everything all right?" she asked. I did not want to frighten her. Yeah, I lied. Just another stupid call. We both stayed awake all night. But no one came. No one phoned again. It ceased for a little while. 3 weeks went by. I got a new number. A new phone. I got a new apartment closer to the town, improved security. I did not hear anything from the enigmatic number anymore. I believed maybe I'd finally managed to get out of its clutches. But one night last year, I traveled to spend the Thanksgiving holidays with my parents. I slept in my childhood bed where each time it did it soothed me. Until 12:16 a.m. Buzz. Unknown caller. I was sitting frozen. I was shaking with my hands. I picked up the call quietly. There was a couple of seconds. And then the voice. "You can move. You can hide. But I still know where you sleep." Click. Since that day, I haven't got a call. But every night at 12:16, I'm lying in bed looking at my phone waiting. Because one day, I know he will call again.